like to do, because we kind of know because we saw your Alchemy of Gender, but if you can kind of tell our audience, how long have you been doing Shakespeare, and how has this influenced you throughout your life and your identity?
Well, I've been doing Shakespeare since I was 19. I'm 52. That's a long time. But it's good because I'm still interested in it. I'm not bored with it. And I probably would be bored with it if I wasn't playing the boys. But, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not boring to play Hamlet. And I'm doing my second Hamlet now, and then my second Richard III in September. So when you do it well, and for the second time, you're in competition with yourself.
Right.
Because you just have to be really at the center of the cyclone. You have to be standing in the center of the tornado of all the forces of technique and audience and readiness and desire to communicate. And then you find your central question, which is easy to find in a Shakespeare play. There's always some great message of humanity or beauty that's totally playable and worth the quest. And then you just get better at it. And I've been doing it for this long, partly because of gender politics, of having, sexual predators in my youth, and very violent men in my life. My father committed suicide, killed about 300 Nazis, major fighter, like a Belgian Olympic contender when he was a kid, and just trying to understand, really when I was playing Shylock, trying to understand my father, confronting all of those Nazis who killed all of his family members, and thinking, what defines a man? What is my response? And then deconstructing his story and going, what is that madness? Is that revenge? Is that laudable? And then coming to a profound pride in my father, but also huge amount of pity for the amount of violence he had to live in and couldn't extricate himself from, because at a certain point, you just don't stop screaming.
Right.
That many people die. And I think the Holocaust is like that. There's just so many people screaming even now. It's like, oh my God, there's a lot of people to be murdered in one short moment of history. All those families.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I could think of how to play Shylock then, because I'm like, oh, I get it. Just put your suitcase down and add your spectacles to the pile and line your shoes up nicely for the oppressor. You have to kind of, at some point, say, I totally protest. I'm in the way. So that's important. There's some certain plays that are important that way. And then just the beauty of the language. I mean, for all the kids that I teach that are, desperate for something besides fuck you as a response.
Right.
Some sort of eloquence, some sort of grasp of poesy, some sort of hopeful articulation of the dream that they carry. Because they are very young and beautiful. But it's hard with Fukushima and every other thing every day. It's like hard to stay as though you have agency. I think having language is very important.
I agree.
Now, are you able to work with high school kids outside of the actually putting on a play and producing a play? With a company?
I do. I always do. I've always had kids in the plays.
Okay.
When we did Midsummer, we had 25 kids, ages 3 to 13 in the plays.
Nice.
When we did Richard III, it was just a few, but to have a 13-year-old young Elizabeth was really creepy. You know what I mean? And to really kill 9-year-old princes was fun. I don't know, the kids are going down. And they always love dying. And, and the young Jewish kids in, I staged some pogroms in The Merchant of Venice. So you have young girls being dragged off by Gestapo guys. You sort of get, the stakes. That's right, the stakes. Because we're so protected here from life and death circumstances. I think that I had a lot of people die when I was young, and I like life and death circumstances. It feels more real to me. Like the first communiques coming out of Japan before they started scraping them out of YouTube. The actual people saying we're being evacuated and these are my radiation burns.
Yeah.
Those people that you can't see anymore because they got taken off. Those are the people. You gotta...
Us as a country getting fatter and lazier. I mean, how much stuff have we had in the past couple of months? Egypt, Libya, Japan, and we still don't get any of it on us. It's on the TV and that's it. And I'm not saying, we need to suffer, but maybe we do. Maybe we need to, not be so fat and lazy.
We really do have a ridiculous proportion of the world's resources being wasted just in our major cities. Just New York and LA are just like, oh my god, just in and of themselves. It's embarrassing. Well, it's just not helpful to the... If the ozone is down 40% and most people are still... There's still a billion people who don't have drinking water, then it's foolishness to get another iPad. You know, somehow we need leadership to say, there's something else you can do. You know, here's what we're going to do. And of course we're all doing what we can on a smaller level, but I do think that I think that theater inches humanity forward, but it is also just for a small percentage of elite Americans who spend their leisure time having their feelings awakened with whatever they can, you know, which might be an artist's whole life's work, but, you know, I just don't, I hope that it's still useful. I know it's very hard to find funding.
Yeah.
And I know that more than 10% of the nonprofits have already closed in the last year or two. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, we should be shutting down some things. I still think our military budget is proportionally much a bigger problem than the NEA for the national budget. You know? I mean, you just line up all these airplanes and you can see what the problems are. But, not to go off into new land, but I think, yes, high school kids we work with, college kids, even senior citizens, like right across the board what people need is language. It counteracts depression beautifully. You know,
and
even if you can get, and oppression, that's right. If you can get your life force going, and usually that's what I get out of Shakespeare. If I open it up and start reading, I get pumped. And then it translates to everything else I have to do, driving 5 hours a day to teach my kids. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the LA
absolutely. Well, we've often talked about how, you know, our language, the English language in general, really doesn't give us the tools that we need to really express ourselves, to express all of our identities, to express who we really are in all the myriad ways. Because, you know, now if we're talking about whether it's your sexual identity or gender identity and your presentation of those things and such, you know, we've generally come away from just that binary, that there's only heterosexual or homosexual, there's only gay or straight, there's only male or female. And at least if it's not entirely socially accepted by society, it's at least being more scientifically accepted that these binaries are not true, that there's a range. But even with that, when we now have words of intersex and transgender and queer, it's still not enough to really define people. Because what one person may use that term to mean one thing, it's going to mean something else to someone else.
Visual language. Clothing. I mean, you're in a suit. This is serious. I wouldn't mess with you. You're not in a corset and a garter belt, which automatically says available for sex to people.
Right.
There was a movie that's come out, like, you guys haven't seen it because you have better things to do with your time, called Sucker Punch, and I'm sure some people in the chat room have seen it. And this movie has driven me and my friends nuts, because it's comic booky, and I love comic books. It's shoot 'em up, big guns, samurai swords, I love that stuff. And then on the flip side is these girls trapped in some kind of horrible situation. It's like a mental hospital / bordello / insane asylum. One girl's gotten put away because her stepfather just framed her. It's basically this guy's excuses to get these girls in these scenarios when he wrote the script. It's not about female empowerment, and that's the way it's trying to sell the movie.
Right.
So I'm trying to give you guys the short version. These girls go into their heads and have these big grand battles, you know. No logic, but that's fine. We know how to deal with, like, I'm going now to fight. You know, it's very Brazil, very Matrix. When these girls fight, they're not wearing armor.
Well, of course not, they're girls. Girls don't wear armor.
Right, they're wearing little slutty sailor suits. And garter belts, and no helmets, and bare midriffs. And the thing is, I love to see women fight, but come on, don't be stupid about it. So this whole movie is about clothing that is like, no matter how good you are with that samurai sword, you're so fuckable, and it's your tits and ass that are going to save you. And people are like loving this movie because, like, oh, it's technological, it's fantasy. Well, look, the girls are fighting, they're empowered. It's like, no, it's scary. It's like constant rape scenarios where they have to fight to not get raped. Why is that rape? You know?
It's hard to get. Black Swan. I was like, what kind of a...
I didn't see it.
Wow, that's really creepy.
Yeah.
You're bulimic and a victim of your mother and your boyfriend and your craft, and you can't possibly succeed because you're a woman. Let's give you every possible thing.
That's what happens in this movie?
Right. Oh my God, it's the worst movie.
I don't want to see it.
We saw it.
About it.
Why does America have to see this movie?
And the thing is,
Stupid.
that director's awesome. Other stuff I liked. Same thing.
Carlos and I saw the
Sucker
film, and I
Punch.
love ballet. I was a dancer for many, many years, and I love ballet. It was so funny. Before we went to see we were going to see the film. We're in the theater, and the film hasn't started. And Carlos and I go to see theater a lot, and he knows that I love dance, I love ballet. And he was telling, we're talking about seeing Swan Lake. And he was telling me about how he loved Swan Lake and loved to see Swan Lake. And I said, yeah, it's best to just kind of go see the first act and then leave. I love ballet, but there's really nothing after that. It's like, really don't stay after that. And I was, looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I don't like the story. I don't like the premise of Swan Lake, which is, okay, so she meets this guy who she's fallen in love with, and her only way out of this situation is for him to pay attention to her, to kiss her, and that doesn't happen because her twin sister comes in and screws it all up for her, and what does? She kills herself. Because that's a viable answer. That's a solution to not getting what you want. Or not
the snappy gay friend.
Yeah.
Oh no, honey, get up! You're a beautiful bird.
Yeah.
Put something on. We're going out. Like the dress up.
Yeah, I'm like, just go find a swan to be with.
About the snappy gay friend.
Snappy gay.
When you do it, I know. It's an icon. It's like, oh, girlfriend.
No, it's a guy from Second City who was like, he did a bunch of Shakespeare send-ups. He's like Ophelia's best friend, the sassy gay friend. He's oh, honey, no, that water's gonna mess up your hair. Get up, get up.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Somebody's Juliet's best friend. Oh, you've got to check it on YouTube. It's very
Oh, it's
okay, I'll just find him then.
Just look for sassy gay friend. He's got
sassy
a little,
gay friend.
That's great.
Advice for stupid girls.
But these giant endless movies keep putting out the same stuff.
Victim, victim, victim. It's like, oh please. Yeah. And I just saw Tangled.
Was it good?
It was beautiful. But what a stupid girl. He was kind of cute. Oh my god. I mean, you should watch it, but it was so stupid. That was the stupidest little blonde girl Disney's made in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, God, who cares?
I whip my hair. Wasn't that
Blonde.
Will Smith's daughter, her hit or something?
I don't know. I like to make it clear that blonde is a state of mind and not necessarily not just a hair color.
Yeah.
It's a state of being.
Sure.
It really is. It's a very shallow state of being, but it's a state of being.
What other movies are...
What else are we going to about?
I'm like racking my brain. Is there like any movie about women that I like? Like, I love the Kill Bill movies because
I never saw them.
she's not a victim. I mean, yeah. She gets shot in the head. She's in a coma and she's raped repeatedly. But
she's not a victim, really? How did that work?
She actually doesn't.
It's a revenge film.
I've thought about it. She doesn't.
But she has to be a
dress
victim in order to get
provocatively.
revenge. Why does she have to get revenge?
Actually,
if she wasn't a victim in the first place.
She's
she
not
wouldn't
getting
need to
revenge.
get
She's getting her child back because Bill, for whatever reason, Bill loses his mind that she leaves him. Bill takes her child away. It's like.
And she's a victim.
You gotta watch them Carradines.
Yes, though.
She doesn't know that the child exists until late in the film.
We're really talking about children.
Oh, see, I've watched these like so many times. I've like lost it. Yeah.
I don't know.
You're just
I don't
shallow.
know.
Shallow. Yeah, that's me. I'm shallow.
You're shallow.